A very warm welcome to you all to the one-on-one set. In the studio tonight, we have with us Javed Bhunnoo. He is the president of the arm wrestling club in Mauritius, and he has also recently participated in the African Games. Tonight, during this episode of One-on-One, Javed is going to share with us more about his passion and journey in the arm wrestling. Javed, thank you so much for being with us tonight in the studio of the NBC.
Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here, Koyal.
Javed, so you are an arm wrestler, but first of all, share with us how did your passion for sports ignite? When did it all start?
So, by nature, when I was a kid, I was always competitive. Of a competitive nature, it's in my DNA. And I started sports since the age of 4 when my father put me in to do swimming. So I went from swimming, I did 6 years, I went to badminton, basketball, until the age of 16. And then from the age of 16, I started doing some bodybuilding, like most other teenagers of that age. And after that, I fell in love with arm wrestling. And so my life has been around sports and still going.
But how did you learn about arm wrestling? What pushed you to practice that sport, at professional athlete level?
So during secondary school days, I used to love arm wrestling with my friends and classmates, and boys love arm wrestling. So we used to arm wrestle like that, and I was always getting beaten by my friends who are stronger than me. And then at some point, at the age of 16, I went to support some friends in a bodybuilding competition. I went as supporter, and when we were waiting for the competition, they were also taking names for people who want to compete in arm wrestling. And it was not the professional arm wrestling with a proper table. It was just a normal table arm wrestling. And our coach at that time, Mr. Gérard Sital, who I have a lot of respect for, he believed in me in that moment and said, Javed, let's put the name of Javed. I was surprised because I was only 16 years old and I went to a bodybuilding competition in the north of the country. Surprisingly, I won that competition.
Wow.
So that's how since that day, I was hooked in arm wrestling.
But you've said that you were practicing badminton, swimming, and so what is it in arm wrestling that really drew you to it? Compared to other sports.
So um, arm wrestling is a lot about strength and skills. And the feeling of being stronger than somebody else and imposing your will on over the other person's will really gives me a high. Um, you could say that arm wrestling is some kind of a combat sport slash strength sport. So
Yes.
you have a plethora of aspects to arm wrestling, and I was also doing basketball. And with basketball, what I didn't like it was that if you are somebody who trains really hard, you're a hard worker, and if the whole team is not in that same mindset, you don't succeed in competition. So I always wanted to succeed in competition. So that's why I tried basketball, badminton, swimming, and arm wrestling, it just happened. I happened to be at the right moment at the right time and at the right place, and fell in love with it.
So it's been how many years that you're in this field now?
So now it's been 15 years since the first time I put my elbow on a table for a competition.
And many people do not know that arm wrestling is an actual sport, right?
It is. It is. It's a very natural sport. I'm sure, Koyal, you have tried arm wrestling once
Oh, yes,
in your life.
definitely.
So has everybody else. Children, young, less young ones, women. It's for everybody. So it's a natural sport. And even when people shake hands, sometimes they tend to go into an arm wrestling position. So It's very natural, and like any other sports, like when you see a ball and you want to kick the ball, so is arm wrestling. So arm wrestling became a sport like that.
And we all know that to be an athlete, you need to train properly, be very consistent, determined well. So take us down to your training session. How does it go, the training session of an arm wrestler?
So in terms of training, the number one training for an arm wrestler, the priority training, I would say, is table time. When I say table time, it's sparring. So actually, arm wrestling people. Um, Americans, Europeans, Russians, those who are the most advanced in this sport in the world, the number one training is sparring sessions. So what are sparring sessions is you have an arm wrestling table up to specs, and where a group of athletes get together once a week, and some do it twice or thrice a week, depending on how long you've been doing it. So you guys get together, arm wrestle for 2 3 hours, recover, and that's the number one training. And then you have other aspects of training to add up to that. You in the gym also we do train for strength, for speed, and we also have to do a lot of rehabilitation and blood flow. So on one side you have a sparring, which helps you perfect your technique, and on the other side you have gym training. Now, if I have to do an expose on, well, go through a training session at the gym, I would summarize it like that. Um, so 15 minutes warm up, at least full body stretching, a lot of stretching from the neck, especially the neck is very tense during arm wrestling matches. So you have to really work the neck also. And so after warm up, we go on to resistance training. So weight training, it could be with elastic bands and anything. However, we have, it depends on the day. So an arm wrestler's week is he will have a maximum strength day, he will have a speed day, and he will have a rehabilitation day. So we typically start with a maximum strength day, where on that day we will do 1 rep max training. So the heaviest you can go in any exercises, right? So there are maybe specific exercises that try to simulate arm wrestling, and also basic exercises which everybody do in the gym. We do it just heavier with 1 rep max, so as to build maximum strength in the body. And if it's a speed day, like I mentioned, we train for speed and explosivity, then we would train around rep ranges of 4 to 6 reps, but as fast as possible. So we do our movements with as much explosivity as possible, and that allows us to build explosivity and speed that we can apply during our matches, because arm wrestling is sometimes it requires of you that you be faster than stronger. So it depends on the opponent that you're facing also. And the third day that you would have as an arm wrestler is rehabilitation. So the amount of stress that we put on our body to be able to increase strength or speed, it it taxes the body. You take some damage, right? And for one to be able to recover from that damage, you have to be able to increase the blood flow. So we would do on the 30, we would do cardio, a lot of cardio. It helps with recovery, like any other sports really. And then we would do rehabilitation movements. So typically, I like to put on weights that allow me to do until 20 or 30 reps, and this would be the third day. And in between those days, it's basic conditioning, training other parts, legs, glutes, etc.
So there's a lot of focus on physical strength, right? But do you think that it's also important to take into consideration the mental strength?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Personally, for me, mental strength plays a big part. uh, it's before competition. So the mental preparation to prepare for a competition, which is in 6 months, starts 6 months after. So you will start visualization of your opponents. Um, you have to study their style, the technique. So because you will face them, so you start by learning them, learning your opponents, learning the techniques, and then mentally preparing yourself to counter it. So in terms of mental preparation, it's a lot of visualization. We also train our central nervous system to be snappy. Uh, we do stuff like sprints to prepare the central nervous system, and also reaction time training. Because arm wrestling is a sport where you will have to hear a ready go. So the faster one to go on the go is normally the one that has the better reaction time, coupled with the speed training that we do also. But mental preparation starts way before, and then when you near the competition, you come near to the competition, like 1 week before, you will try to calm yourself down, stay focused, let ego out. Ego is a big destroyer of success, and on the day of competition, now that's where the mental really comes into play, because it's too late to prepare for strength, it's too late to prepare for speed, and it's too late to care about rehabilitation. Now it's all about applying what you prepared for. And on that day, me typically, it depends on the style of person, but the moment that you hear your name to go on the stage, this is a moment where you get chills in your neck, and you have to stay focused. You can't get angrier that you should be, because you will forget about your strategy. You will forget about what you're seeing, the angles that you're trying to apply, or you will even forget about what your opponent will be doing if you're too angry, for example. Me, I have a very aggressive style on the table. So off the table, I'm a really, really nice guy. But when you come to the table, uh, you're my opponent, you're my rival, and all I focus on is how to beat you as fast as possible. So mental preparation starts from way before 6 months, 1 year before before preparing for, let's say, a continental competition or a world championship competition, and until the moment where you have finished your match, and even after that. So it's all around mental preparation.
You've actually, when we are talking about the competition, and you recently took part in the African Games, right? Was it your first competition at the continental level?
Yes. When we talk about continental level, it's gathering most countries of a continent, right? So I have done international competitions before. I went to Thailand for international competition in Pattaya. I went there only for that competition, travel only for that. I went to Singapore for competitions. I've been in Malaysia for international and regional and local competitions. So I've been for quite an amount of competition. And the nice thing about the Africa Games is that is the first time that arm wrestling is being included in a continental level
Yeah.
game, and that was a big motivation for us Mauritian arm wrestlers, to prepare and try to go to the African Games, because of the importance that it brings to the sport, the exposure that it brings to the sport. And I wanted Mauritius to be part of the first time where arm wrestling has been in uh, a competition other than international, and first time in continental level.
Yeah.
It was a great experience, really.
And it's great, you actually got a bronze medal for that
Yeah,
competition.
and we are so happy about that. We have Abel, one of our athletes, who got a bronze medal in the left hand category. And me personally, I got fourth.
Yeah.
So for the first time that Mauritius is participating on the
It's a good achievement.
continental level for arm wrestling, it's a great achievement, and it's very encouraging for the future. Uh, Given that we were only two to go. So had we been with more athletes, we could have brought better results. And had we had more support and more preparation, we could have done even better. So the future for arm wrestling on that level is looking really bright, and Mauritians are strong people. We are strong, both physically, mentally, and also smart. So we have a lot of potential in Mauritius for arm
For
wrestling.
sure,
Yeah,
Javed.
yeah.
Javed, can you tell us more about how an arm wrestling tournament goes on? We have different categories, right? What are the specific rules as well? Tell us more so that our audience can learn better and maybe
Sure,
try arm
of
wrestling in a
course.
competition.
So um, we talk about the competition from the organization aspect and also the participating aspect. So on the organization aspect, um, the organizer needs to have, number one, an arm wrestling table. So you need to have an arm wrestling table that is according to the specifications of the World Arm Wrestling Federation. So that table is catered in a way that it keeps the athlete safe and really makes it interesting. Without the table, it's not that interesting. With a table, it's so interesting. So the organizer needs to have a table. He needs to have a referee, and in this case, I highly suggest certified referees. And by the way, I'm the only certified referee in Mauritius, and I plan to form other referees so that we can get things moving on that aspect. So there's the refereeing part, there's the table, and then of course you need to think about the audience where people will be able to see the match, right? And then on the categories that the organizer would have to take into consideration, it depends. On the local level, typically they do 3 categories per arm. So both right and left arm. Some people, when I tell them it's both right and left, they're like, "Oh, it's both." So yeah, it's actually also left hand competition. And you don't have to be left-handed or right-handed. I am fourth in Africa in my left hand, and on Malaysian national level, I was second in 2016. So, but I'm right-handed,
Yeah.
and my right hand is my dominant arm. So, arm wrestling is for both arms. You will have categories of right and left, and you will also have weight categories. Um, in local competitions is normally 3 categories: 75 to 85, 85 above, it depends. And on a continental level you have categories, 8 categories, so separated by 5 kg or 10 kg, it depends. And you, on the world championships, you have so many
So many
categories.
levels.
It's separated in 5 kg categories. But what's interesting is that you have men categories. In men category you have junior, you have senior, you have master, you have Paralympic, you have uh, um, uh, so many categories just only for the men, and then you have for women. So the same amount of categories that you have for the men, you have for the women also. And the Paralympic also, we arm wrestling is as it has been listed for as an exhibition sport for the 2028 Paralympics. And you know, um, people that are less fortunate, maybe with their leg, or they compensate for it in their upper body. So they're very strong, very strong. I met somebody in at the Africa Games who's a African champion, and he's a polio victim, and he is African champion in arm wrestling.
Oh,
So the sport is really for everybody in terms of competition. Now, when you go to competition as an athlete, so you will go there, you will start with the weigh-in. So, of course, they have to check your weight. Sometimes you have to lose weight in order to be in a lower category. And then you wait for the start of the competition. You start preparing mentally and warm up also, a lot of warm up all around the wrist, the joints, the back, the neck. So you warm up and prepare for your competition. You can apply magnesium powder on your hands so that you get the better grip possible. And you wait for your turn. And the moment that you wait for your turn, once you start with your category, it can go on for like uh, for hours, but you have 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes between matches to prepare for the next match. So it depends on what type of athlete you meet. If you meet the strongest ones in the beginning, you might get eliminated early because normally arm wrestling competitions are always double elimination competitions, right? So yeah, and then when you go to on your match, the match goes on so fast that you have to be really prepared to perform well in terms of strategy and
We
application.
are actually drawing towards the end of this episode, but before that, Javed, where do you see the sport of arm wrestling in the future in Mauritius? Are there any changes or misconception that you would like to change about the sport?
Right. So arm wrestling is being really given a what's the word? It's being really given exposure in arm wrestling in Mauritius. So since we went to the Africa Games, there are so many youngsters, and we go to do competitions in schools. So in terms of followers, we have many, and they are all interested. So in terms of for the future of arm wrestling in the country, we are aiming for a federation of arm wrestling. We have an association, and we are aiming to set up associations all around the country, which will allow local competitions to happen, which will then go to the regional competitions, north, south, east, west, center, and then we are targeting to make a national competition, national championship in December. And what I would like to really change is, of course, we would like to get as much support as possible from all parties that wants to either sponsor or help us in any way. You can like our arm wrestling Mauritius Facebook page, where you can contact us from there. And also, I want to send a message to youngsters who want to try arm wrestling. Please get in contact with us. Come to sparring sessions. We do them all around the country, and uh, come to a competition. From that moment, the moment that you come to a sparring competition and you win or you lose your first match, you will be in love with arm wrestling for your whole life.
Thank you, Javed. It was a delight to have you on the set tonight and learn more about this wonderful sport of arm wrestling.
Thank you for having me, Koyel. It's been a pleasure.
Dear viewers, we have now come to the end of this episode. Thank you for your time. We hope to catch you next week at the same time, same channel. Have a great evening.